What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's first exclusive segment from the greatest podcast on turf. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Anthony.
And for this exclusive segment, we are going to be doing another, semi-weekly, weekly, whatever we do, mock draft. The draft order is now set from picks 1 to 18. So, going to do a mock draft for that, obviously. Things will change with the playoffs in terms of 18 and 32. But as of right now, first 18 are set. A lot of coaches have been fired, so check that out on the podcast. We will touch on that. So what are these teams going to do now that they fired their coaches? What are they going to do? We're going to talk about that now.
Yeah, we are. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Check out the podcast to hear all of our games from the Eagles stories. I almost got in a fight leaving the parking lot.
Stories from the Eagles game.
Stories from the Eagles game, from the tailgate, from the giveaway. Shout out to Kate for winning the jersey giveaway. She was very thankful. Her and her boyfriend were very happy. Appreciate you guys showing love. The greatest podcast on turf studio coming soon. You don't want to miss this week's podcast. We did our NFL playoff prediction. So click that link in the in the description to check out the podcast, to follow us on Spotify, Apple. Follow us, subscribe, show us love. We passed 300 subscribers. Thank you to each and every one of you guys that likes our videos, comments us, giving your feedback on the mock draft. I know you Eagles fans like to leave your expert analysis under our mock draft, so we truly appreciate you guys, and we appreciate all of our other supporters that show us love. So keep showing your boys some love to keep up the good content. We got the studio coming soon, national championship on here, and you ready to get in the mock?
Yep, I'm ready.
Let's go. Alrighty, so you guys know how the deal is. We alternate picks. I had the first pick. I'm gonna go right into it. Now, this may be surprising to some of you, but the Jaguars clinched the number 1 pick. We saw the Jags. They gained some momentum. We watched them this season. They were in most of their games for the most part, but a big problem was their offensive line. And I know you guys might not like where I'm going with this, but Trevor Lawrence, he has to get protected. He can't keep getting hit. He can't keep scrambling out of the pocket trying to make plays, because that leads to bad things, as we've seen from Carson Wentz in the past, like we've seen from Joe Burrow. He got injured. I mean, we see these quarterbacks year in and year out running around for their lives. They get hurt or whatnot, not wishing injury, just saying, this could be a number of guys here. They could go with the clear-cut guys, so to speak, in Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau to pair with Josh Allen. But I feel like as we saw against the Colts, their defensive line was fair. I mean, Josh Allen did his thing. Caleb Von Chason has not been exceptional by any means, but he's been getting the job done. But with all that being said, I went ahead and I took Evan Neal just because the Jags, they need to protect their franchise guy. Trevor Lawrence, they got to protect him. That's what it comes down to. You can't not protect your franchise guy. They're getting a new head coach. They're getting a new head coach, and he's going to definitely want to protect his franchise guy and Trevor Lawrence, who looked very good yesterday. It was definitely a big step and a step in the right direction for them. So, I mean, Evan Neal, I know it's crazy. We've seen offensive tackles like Eric Fisher go number 1 overall in the past, so it's not out of the ordinary. But, I mean, I know it might be hard to take Evan Neal over a Hutchinson or Thibodeau, but that's why we mock. So I went Evan Neal here. I think it's a good fit for the Jags, and I think you got to protect Trevor Lawrence or you will not have success.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick. It probably will happen unless Bill O'Brien happens to be the new coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, in which they will go ahead and take probably a quarterback or God knows. So yeah, with this next pick, pick number 2, the Detroit Lions, I had them taking arguably the best player available. In my opinion, there's 2 number 1 players available. That is Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau. With this pick, the Detroit Lions will be taking Aiden Hutchinson. He is a local guy to Detroit. The Detroit Lions, they need a lot. You can argue that Jared Goff won't be back there next year, and you can argue that they take a quarterback here. But in my opinion, it's a little bit too early with the quarterbacks that are presented in this draft class. I think a pretty good option that the Detroit Lions have is actually trading back, because they do need a lot. And if they are interested in a quarterback, trading back to, the 6th or 7th pick might make more sense, because you could grab a guy like Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral. One of those guys will be there around 6 or 7. So if you like both of them, I wouldn't hate them for trading back. But right now, at this pick, at number 2, we're not trading. So the Detroit Lions will take their best player available in Aiden Hutchinson. Edge rusher is one of those cornerstone pieces in building up a franchise. It's one of the first pieces that you target. In my opinion, it's probably second quarterback, then edge rusher. Edge rusher, it helps out every part of the defense, against the run, against the pass. The edge rusher is the most important position on defense. So the Detroit Lions grabbing arguably the best edge rusher and Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is a good pick. Also, if they took Kayvon Thibodeau here, I would not be disappointed in him.
Yeah, I like that pick. And like I said, either of these guys could go 1, 2, or 3. It just depends on the way the draft goes. And in this draft, Kayvon Thibodeau, who's arguably number 1, falls to number 3 to the Houston Texans. The Texans are a team like the Lions. They need a lot. We don't know what's going to happen. They still got Deshaun Watson, who they said they want to trade before free agency, I think it was. But none of his legal issues have been resolved, or I haven't heard much about it in recent weeks, months, since the season really started. So I went Kayvon Thibodeau. I feel like he's a clear-cut pick here. I really don't think it's anyone else. When you have a player that's as good as Kayvon Thibodeau on the board at 3, if you're the Texans, who are in definitely the early stages of a rebuild, you can't pass up on that. Like Ryan said, edge rusher is a corner piece of the defense, and they really don't have anyone notable on edge or the defense. Yeah, they have Justin Reed, who's okay. Desmond King's been all right for them. I think he plays for them. But yeah, you got to go Kayvon Thibodeau here. He's the best player on the board, and he's arguably when you can arguably get the best player in a draft class at 3, you got to take him. Enough said.
I agree with that pick. The next pick, you got the New York Jets, and this is a similar pick to the first overall pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They will be taking offensive tackle Kim Ekwonu out of NC State for a lot of the same reasons that he said on the Jacksonville Jaguars. They need to protect Trevor Lawrence. Now, the Jets, they already kind of did that with Mekhi Becton. He has been serviceable at tackle. Now they're going to fill in the other side with Ekwonu out of NC State. This is going to help out the entire offense. In my opinion, when you draft a rookie quarterback, your first priority should be building up an offense before you build up that defense, because you don't want that quarterback that you just drafted. I forget where they drafted him, top 5 overall. Two. Yeah, I just forgot what pick they had. When you draft a quarterback number 2 overall, you want him to be successful. You want him to be your franchise guy. And in order to do that, you have to help him out either with receivers or with linemen. With this pick number 4 here, I don't think there's any receivers that warrant this pick. So going lineman here is smart. It helps out the run game. It helps out Michael Carter, but it also helps out the pass game with Zach Wilson. They can look for receivers later in the draft. It's easier to get receivers than offensive tackles, especially with the talent that Ekwonu has here. So yeah, they're getting their offensive tackle of the future. They got both their tackles figured out if they do this, and I think that's very important. You got a defensive-minded head coach who loves running the football. That helps out with this. Helps out with Zach Wilson. Every party wins in this deal. So Ekwonu to the Jets.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. Ike Ekwonu, he's one of my favorite prospects in his class, and he's arguably OT1. The Draft Network has him ranked higher than Evan Neal. I personally think Evan Neal's a little better just because he's going against better competition in the SEC. But I love the Ike Ekwonu pick. Like I say, he's one of my favorite prospects. He's versatile. He can play opposite of Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker, like you said. And man, I just add Nakobe Dean is so good. We'll touch on him later, but he's so good. He's made 2 crazy plays already. Number 5, the New York Giants are on the clock, who are sticking with Joe Judge. I know. This pick, for the Giants to stick with, it sounds like this morning Joe Judge met with the team and pitched his plan on why they should give him another year to stay. And to me, that means going out and drafting a quarterback and trying to convince them to let you try and develop this said quarterback, who is my favorite quarterback in the class, QB1 to me since the season started. I've said it. Matt Corral to the Giants. But to me, Joe Judge meeting is them saying, Nakobe Dean.
No, it was Davis.
Oh.
You're begging.
That's Nakobe Dean that took it back, though.
Yeah, I know, but who caused the strip sack?
Oh, I didn't say. I just saw Nakobe Dean running down the sideline.
You're good.
But yeah, Matt Corral, Joe Judge has to give the Giants a reason to keep him around. They're getting a new GM. He's going to have to give the new GM a reason to keep him around for more than just 1 year. And what better way than drafting Matt Corral, trying to let him develop in the young, explosive offense that with a Saquon Barkley. We'll touch on their other draft pick in a little bit. But just Matt Corral, they got to get a quarterback. Daniel Jones sucks. Yeah, he's been serviceable, but 60 turnovers in about mid-30 game. That's not good. So you got to get a quarterback in there. Even if you give Daniel Jones a shot to start the season, Matt Corral can step in, fill the offense. He fits good in the offense. I mean, he's versatile. He could fit. He could get him and Saquon could be a nasty combo. They have okay receivers. They got Kadarius Toney. So, I mean, Matt Corral to the Giants could be lethal. So that's why I took him at number 5.
It looks like that was an incomplete pass based on initial review. Carolina Panthers up at pick number 6. I think they take Kenny Pickett here, quarterback out of Pittsburgh. Matt Rule, as of right now, he is the head coach for the Carolina Panthers. If they bring in a new head coach, I think that new head coach selects a quarterback, whatever quarterback he likes, because a new head coach likes bringing in a new quarterback, especially when your quarterback right now is Sam Darnold, Cam Newton, PJ Walker, whatever one that you want to argue. The Carolina Panthers are not in a great spot, I would say. The defense is in a pretty good spot, but the offense, there's bits and pieces, but I'm not sure they're moving in the right direction. They're already talking about trading Christian McCaffrey. They talked about trading him. I think they talked about it last year. Talking about it again this year. I'm not sure that's the smartest option here. But selecting a quarterback, Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh, he's done really good this year. He's brought them to an ACC championship. The only problem is he got small hands, and they said the same thing about Joe Burrow. We see how that's working out. So taking Kenny Pickett here at pick number 6, I think is a good pick for the Panthers. Matt Rule needs to win football games if he wants to keep his job.
Yeah.
And getting a quarterback, no matter how they do it, whoever it is, that is the right answer. So getting Watson or getting Pickett,
or even
shoot at Aaron Rodgers, I don't care what they do. They need a quarterback in this offseason if they want to win football games.
Yes.
So Kenny Pickett, I'm taking him here.
Yeah, and the Giants are back up on the board. I had this pick again. Like I said, Matt Corral, like we've emphasized, protecting your young quarterback. I went ahead here and I took Kenyon Green, interior offensive lineman out of Texas A&M. He's a versatile offensive lineman, like the Giants like. They've experimented Andrew Thomas, who's developed fairly well. He's moved to right or left tackle. They move guys around the offensive line, like Will Hernandez and Nick Gates. They move around all the time. The Giants have experimented. Joe Judge has experimented. And drafting a guy like Kenyon Green can give you that. He has experience playing center, guard, and he has some experience at right tackle during his time at Texas A&M. That's big to draft a versatile offensive lineman when you need multiple offensive line pieces. You'll be able to get him in, fill him in the best possible position to help protect Matt Corral, who you just drafted, to help protect Saquon Barkley, to help Matt Corral make big throws to Kadarius Toney downfield, to Kenny Golladay downfield. Kenyon Green's a good fit to the Giants. He's powerful, he's versatile, he's quick. He fits the scheme perfect. He's quick on the ball. He's got good size. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". That's good for a guard. It's versatile. He can slide a tackle if he needs to. We've seen versatile offensive linemen like Mike Onwenu from my New England Patriots have success playing all positions of the line. And Kenyon Green draws similar. He's a very similar prospect to Mike Onwenu from what I've seen from him playing for the Patriots. So that's how I went Kenyon Green here. I like to pick, especially if they draft Matt Corral, who they're going to want to protect early and not let him get hit all year like we've seen Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and Joe Burrow have, to even Justin Herbert. Over the past few years, we've seen these top rookie quarterback prospects have no offensive linemen, just getting their ass kicked all year, and it's resulted in injuries like Joe Burrow. Zach Wilson missed some time. So, I mean, you got to protect your young quarterback, so Kenyon Green's the pick here.
I agree with that pick 100%. Next up, number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're just taking the best available player on the board. That is Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame. He's arguably one of the most athletic players in his whole entire draft class. He was a stud for Notre Dame last year, and this does fill a position in need for the Atlanta Falcons. You can argue a quarterback here, but they already said that they're sticking with Matt Ryan. I also wouldn't hate them for getting a quarterback, sitting him on the bench, then letting him play next year. But Kyle Hamilton, I think, is the pick. People have him projected as a top 3 pick, so he obviously has top 3 talent. And falling to number 8, I think, is good value for the Atlanta Falcons here. They're coming off of losing Keanu Neal and DeMonte Casey, both to the Dallas Cowboys. So safety is a position of need for them. And I think Kyle Hamilton is the guy that they want to fill it. The Atlanta Falcons are in pretty good shape on defense in terms of having solid pieces. They have Grady Jarrett, who's a stud. They have Deion Jones, who's a stud. They have A.J. Terrell, who's played really good this year. And now taking Kyle Hamilton as the 4th piece. Once you get stars on your defense and then you get role players around them, you turn into a really solid defense. So Atlanta Falcons, they were actually not that far off this year in terms of like making the playoffs. They have 7-8 wins, which isn't bad at all. Not good, not bad at all either. So yeah, taking Kyle Hamilton here I think is a good pick for the defense. I guess to try to make a playoff push next year, I'm not really sure. They might be like a Steelers, try to get 8 wins and see what happens. But Kyle Hamilton, the best available player, I think is the pick.
Yeah, I like that one. I think Kyle Hamilton is the best player in the draft class, talent-wise. I mean, he makes plays all over the field. He's an unreal athlete. His film stands out. He makes plays all over the field. I literally seen him run from one sideline to the other sideline and break up a pass. That's unreal. I think he's the best player in the class. Moving on to the Broncos pick, I know it's got to be quarterback, right? But it doesn't have to be. I mean,
we can say the same thing about that pick coming up.
yeah, kind of. But I mean, there's really nobody here that I think is worth the number 9 overall spot. I know it will be. I know quarterbacks don't fall. Teams aren't going to, we'll draft one in the second round if they need one. That's just not how the draft goes. But like I said, this is how we mock. I think this could be a draft where quarterbacks do maybe drop a little bit to the teens, and we see these teams that pick early trade back into the first round to try and get a quarterback with a team like the Eagles who could be in the market to trade back. I feel like the Ravens always trade back. The Saints are a team that always moves around in the draft. I mean, just teams that always move. But for the Broncos here, I went George Karlaftis. I know another edge rusher. They did just lose Von Miller. Bradley Chubb has been, he's been good when he plays, but he just got to stay healthy. George Karlaftis, I mean, I've seen mocked to the number 3 overall pick. When you got a guy that's this talented, this athletic, any other year he's edge 1. But, I mean, you have 2 unreal edge rushers in the class with him. I mean, George Karlaftis here, I mean, they're getting a new head coach. Like Ryan said, edge rusher is a corner piece. Like I said, I don't think there's a quarterback worth taking here. Maybe if you want to take a shot on Sam Howell, but I think he's more of a guy who, like the Falcons draft, but let him sit behind Matt Ryan for a year, develop a little bit. Maybe Desmond Ridder, Carson Strong, Malik Willis. Maybe Malik Willis. I wouldn't mind of the Broncos. I do think it's early though, so I went with probably the best player available in George Karlaftis. Edge is a cornerstone piece. It's a position in need for the Broncos. So just keep beefing up that defense, I guess. Defense wins championships. This is why we mock.
Probably not for the Broncos. Anyways, this next pick number 10, this is arguably the same as my number 8 pick, Kyle Hamilton. Number 10, I am taking Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback out of LSU. In my opinion, he is the best corner in this class, and it's not really close. Coming onto the scene as a freshman, he was the best cornerback in college football. He shut down the best receivers in college football day in and day out. That's what he did. He went up against the best receivers in college football every day in practice against Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrence Marshall, anybody from LSU that you could possibly imagine. This man has went up against. Derek Stingley, in my opinion, is the man. He has the ability to be the best corner in the NFL, definitely the best corner in his draft class. And the New York Jets, they need the best players that they can get. They're not a good football team in general. Earlier, we have them taking an offensive lineman, which does help out Zach Wilson. I could also see a receiver here to help out Zach Wilson. But Derek Stingley, I think it's just too good to pass up at pick number 10. I feel like you have to take him, especially if it's a position of need, which it is for the Jets because they can't guard a parked car. They can't guard anything. So Derek Stingley to the Jets here at pick number 10 is my pick.
Yeah, I like that pick. Now, here's another pick I had that it's got to be quarterback, right? Well, it doesn't.
Fair.
I know I went Jamison Williams here. I could see the Washington football team going out and making a move in free agency for a quarterback, like an Aaron Rodgers, like a maybe Deshaun Watson. We heard rumors flying around back when his name before the season was getting thrown around. And like I said, I just don't think there's a quarterback here that warrants a top 11 pick. I don't. I mean, they seem to like Taylor Heineke for some reason, and I mean, it showed lack of weapons in the season. Showed Logan Thomas got hurt pretty much all year. Terry McLaurin only did so much this year. They really don't have a number 2 receiving option. They drafted Diami Brown, who's been okay, but when you can get a guy like Jamison Williams, who's played in the SEC for years, played behind the Judys of the world, the Devontae Smiths of the world, the Waddles of the world, the Ruggs of the world. This guy knows what he's doing. He's been in great receiver rooms. He's gone up against the best of the best corners. He's probably seen Stingleys of the world, the Andrew Booths of the world. He saw Sauce Gardner, 2 weeks ago?
He just saw Georgia and destroyed them.
He's seeing Darian Kendrick right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamison Williams has seen all the corners. Him going to Washington could help them take it to another level on offense to open up that run game some more with Antonio Gibson, which they tried to do down the stretch of the season. So Taylor Heineke didn't have to do so much. And to just get another lethal, deadly option across from Terry McLaurin, I mean, you have 2 potential wide receiver 1s on your team. I mean, Terry McLaurin's already a receiver 1. You get Jamison Williams, another receiver 1. I mean, do what the Bengals do. Draft a receiver. when in doubt, draft a receiver. I mean, they have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, 2 receiver ones. The Washington football team could do the same thing here and maybe just give Taylor Heineke another shot or draft a quarterback or trade up like they should have done last year and got Justin Fields, but that's behind us now. So that's why I went Jameson Williams here.
With this next pick at number 12, this is a kind of tricky pick, in my opinion, with the Minnesota Vikings. There is different ways that they can go. They just fired Mike Zimmer, and I believe their GM got fired also.
As they should have.
So now they kind of have, some questions to answer. Do they want to stick with Kirk Cousins and let him be their quarterback? I don't know. They have problems on defense also. They have defensive line problems. We all know about them. Injuries they have defensive line problems. And then they have secondary problems with Cam Dantzler and Pat Pete.
Who's terrible, by the way. Patrick Peterson's washed.
Pat Pete is definitely washed.
Yeah.
With that being said, I wanted to kind of take the best player available within their position in need. I would have probably taken a quarterback if there was a good one here, considering they're not giving Kellen Mond a shot at all. But I'm taking Andrew Booth here, cornerback out of Clemson. In my opinion, that's the best player in terms of what they need. I was thinking about a Jordan Davis here because they do need defensive line help. But grabbing a corner here to replace Pat Pete, who's getting old, he's getting up there in age, I think Andrew Booth is the right pick. He is a defensive back from Clemson. Those guys have had success in the NFL. Defensive players from Clemson have had success in the NFL in general. Clemson is a pretty good school. He has gone up against good receivers. Andrew Booth, he was solid in their bowl game against, I forget who, but I'm pretty sure he had a pick 6 when they bought out. Andrew Booth is the pick here at number 12 to the Vikings.
It's going to bother me. I don't remember who did it.
It was like the Cheez-It Bowl, I think.
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
My next pick, though, we got the Cleveland Browns up on the
I don't
board.
remember it, so. Was it
Iowa State. Jinx. The Cleveland Browns. This could be a number of picks. This could be a receiver. We don't know what's going to happen on the edge with Clowney after this year. Offensive line hasn't been healthy all year. But I think that this has to be a receiver. They're committed to Baker for another year, as they should be. We touch on that more in the podcast, so be sure to drop a like and check out the podcast after this video. Pause it now. If you're in a car ride, you got a long car ride, check out the greatest podcast on turf. Got him. But with this pick right here, there's a multiple different guys you could go. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, obviously, Jahan Dotson, Drake London before the injuries. But I went ahead and took Treylon Burks here. Treylon Burks, he's a guy that's drawing comparisons to Cordero Pattersons of the world, to Deebo Samuels of the world, which is a good sign because the success we've seen them guys have just this year alone. I mean, maybe that we could see that more guys play more running back receiver hybrids like Cordero Patterson and Deebo. And Cleveland does that a lot. I feel like they're always running jet sweeps and ends arounds and reverses to Jarvis Landry, to Donovan Peoples-Jones, to Anthony Schwartz, who's somehow in the NFL. Nothing against him, but he's fit. But yeah, Treylon Burks, he's a guy that can do it all, and I think he would help Baker out in a lot of ways. He's a jump ball receiver, and he's that true receiver one position that they lack. He can come in and be the Deebo Samuel. To be that three-headed monster with Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Treylon Burks, that could get nasty. So I think this pick has to be a receiver. There's really no wrong answer. You could go Olave, Wilson, or even Jahan Dotson here, but I went Treylon Burks. He's the most versatile, and I think he fits Cleveland's offense the best.
At pick number 14, the Baltimore Ravens, I got him taking Jordan Davis, interior defensive lineman out of Georgia. Anthony didn't like that pick. I'm not sure I love the pick, but it is what I think that the Baltimore Ravens will do. John Harbaugh does not draft offense in the first round. He hasn't done so in the past 20 years. Besides Lamar and...
If we're being technical, he drafted Lamar at the very... Stetson Bennett is so bad.
1 year is when he drafted offensive players in the first round, but he hasn't done so the past 12 years before that. And he's not going to do it here. Jordan Davis is the pick here, interior defensive lineman out of Georgia. He's already made a play in this Alabama game. First drive.
Sorry, I'm tweeting.
No, you're good. About Stetson. Okay.
He's so bad.
Jordan Davis, I think he is a pretty good pick here. A lot of people don't like him, but I think he is a John Harbaugh type of player. He is a nasty player that you could put in the trenches and make a solid defensive line. The Ravens, that is what they love doing. They love blitzing the quarterback. They love creating pressure, which allows their secondary to feast. The Ravens are a decent football team. They just battled injuries more than probably anybody else this year. They were really banged up. But Jordan Davis helping out Jason Owa will be pretty good for this defensive front. Tyus Bowser also. I think they're going to go back to their roots, blitzing, causing problems on the defense. That's what we know the Baltimore Ravens are doing, creating havoc, relying on the defense first. Jordan Davis, I think, is the pick here. He can help stop the run. He can help stop the pass. He is a huge athletic guy who will help out all parts of this defense right in the middle. So Jordan Davis is my pick.
Yeah, but I see the pick. I see the vision. I see that's a John Harbaugh pick.
Don't bash him, just he will destroy you.
It's not saying much. He's about 6'5", 350 pounds.
6'7".
Like 300 some pounds. That he moved pretty quick for being 6'7".
Tell him to just hold his hands up and he will
But
get
the fact that,
interceptions.
he's a guy who only plays 20, 25 snaps a game. Is that worth a top 15 pick?
Harbaugh will get him in shape. Don't worry
That's
about it.
fair. But Philadelphia is on the clock. I know we have a bunch of mock draft experts that love to comment about the Eagles and how they have the best O-line in football and how they're the champs and they'll always be the Super Bowl
If
champs.
they don't like these two picks, I'm sorry for them.
Then you're just a bozo. So for this first pick to the Eagles, I went David Ajabo, other edge rusher out of Michigan. He's been on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, but he does his thing. He holds his own. He does good. He creates pressure. The Eagles will be getting a healthy Brandon Graham back.
Old Brandon Graham back.
Yes, an old but healthy Brandon Graham who teams will still be probably drawing at more over David Ajabo, which will create opportunity for him. I think he's a good developmental piece for the Eagles team that has been horrible on defense this year, especially in the front seven.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 100 on him.
Enough said. David Ajabo's the pick here, and this next pick as well.
With this next pick, interior defensive line to Marvin Leal. Defensive lineman out of Texas A&M, I think, is the pick here. Fletcher Cox is obviously getting up there in age. It's not really saying much. So is Brandon Graham. Derek Barnett is a free agent this offseason, so he's most likely to go if they take these two guys. The Philadelphia Eagles, they are known for having a good front seven. They are known for having guys in the center that disrupt the run, that disrupt the pass. They're known for having nasty guys, similar to the Baltimore Ravens, and I think they go back to that with these two picks right here back-to-back. Having two picks back-to-back, you're in a pretty good situation. You can grab two guys. It just feels good. And drafting two defensive linemen, defensive edge rushers back-to-back, I think is huge for them. Getting pressure to the quarterback is a problem that they've had this season. Also, stopping the run is a problem that they've had this season. So with our two picks here, that is what they're doing. Last year, they kind of spent a little bit of time on the offense, drafting an offensive lineman, drafting a receiver. This year, I think they beef up that defensive line. They have 3 picks in the first round. In my opinion, it's defensive line and corner, and then maybe help out Jalen Hurts possibly. But with these 2 picks, they're going to help out the defensive line. Try to get it back to one of those defensive lines that you don't want to mess with back when Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham
we're good.
We're no good. We're good. We're good. So they're going to get back to that. Draft their Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham right here with picks 15 and 16.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, this could be that range where we see a team trade back up into the first round for a quarterback, like a Denver, like a football team. The Eagles have, I guarantee you that the Eagles don't have the back-to-back picks come draft day. I feel like they're going to make a move. So, but yeah, I like that pick. Eagles fans, I know you're going to comment. Leave your comments below. We'd love to hear your opinions. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, no matter what you believe. But this next pick here, the Chargers, I would have loved the DeMarvin Leal to fall, but after what I saw Max Crosby do to Storm Norton last night, this has to be offensive lineman. So I'm going Charles Cross, the best offensive lineman on the board. Max Crosby absolutely ate Storm Norton's breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next month. It was embarrassing. Justin Herbert was running for his life while still making plays. Yes, they have Brian Bulaga on the other side. Yes, they have Corey Linsley in the middle. Yes, they have Rashawn Slater as well, who's a stud. But the fact of the matter is, Storm Norton cannot be a starter. Max Crosby owns him now, so they need to go offensive line, protect Justin Herbert even more. I know that the defense was bad. Kenneth Murray's the only bright spot in that front seven. Joey Bosa's there too, but he's good, but he don't make as much noise as he once did.
When he's on the sideline gasping for air in the fourth quarter, that is not a good look.
Yeah, exactly, from your franchise edge guy. But Charles Cross here is just, Storm Norton's a liability. Enough said. If you watched that game last night, you saw what I saw. Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. He's traditionally a left tackle, but they'll move him to right. They'll move Rashawn Slater to right tackle if they need to. Rashawn Slater was versatile at Northwestern. He could do it. They'll figure it out. Just, you got to protect Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler. You could also argue receiver here because Keenan Allen was non-existent last night against the Raiders. No fly zone secondary apparently. So yeah, the Chargers have a lot of needs. I mean, maybe more than meets the eye even. So this could be receiver, but Storm Norton's a liability. Protect Justin Herbert.
With this next pick at pick number 18, the New Orleans Saints. This pick is kind of tricky also because I don't know what direction the Saints are going to go in. They could take a quarterback here, and I wouldn't blame them. They could literally take any position at all here. But I'm going to go receiver Chris Olave out of Ohio State. He is one of the, if not the best route runners in all of college football, and arguably the best one in this draft class. Coming out of Ohio State, they have had success drafting receivers out of Ohio State named Michael Thomas. But another reason to take an Olave here, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Michael Thomas. He hasn't played football for the New Orleans Saints. He's not happy with the organization. Most likely they're not happy with him either. So it's kind of tricky, you know. If they do bring in a quarterback, that quarterback needs a receiver to throw the ball to. Michael Thomas, if he happens to leave, Olave is the guy that it's going to be because we all know Traquan Smith is not the answer. Callaway has shown flashes, but he's not a number one receiver. He's just not talented enough. So whenever they figure out what their quarterback will be, that guy is going to need a good receiver. Ian Book needs to throw the ball to somebody. Let that somebody be Chris Olave.
Yeah, and the Eagles are back on the clock. I know Eagles fans think that they have the best offensive line in football. They don't. I mean, Jason Kelsey's probably done after this season, after this week against Tampa Bay. When Brandon Brooks hasn't been healthy in, 3 or 4 years now, when Nate Herbig is a starter on your offensive line, when Isaac Seimalu plays for the team, Andre Dillard is a sorry bitch. Lane Johnson hasn't played a healthy game, Boomer Sooner and all. He hasn't played a full healthy season in God knows how long. So
PFF has us having two of the best linemen in football.
Really?
Creed and Trent Williams, maybe.
Nice. I went ahead and took Tyler Linderbaum here. The Eagles need help on the offensive line. Tyler Linderbaum is a great center. He can come in. I mocked him to them last time. I just think this fits too good.
He got grilled.
Yeah, but he's a guy who could step in for Jason Kelsey right away, and the Eagles should be comfortable with it. Like I said, when Nate Herbig is a starter on your offensive line, when Andre Dillard's a starter on your offensive line, when you don't have a healthy Lane Johnson or Brandon Brooks, who are both old as shit and probably will retire soon, you need to draft Tyler Linderbaum, who can solidify that center spot. You can move Dickerson and Lillard and Seimalu or whoever you got around all you want. Tyler Linderbaum's a guy. He's a stud at Iowa. He's one of the highest graded offensive linemen in college football. So the Eagles should be thankful that they drafted him here and not like Spencer Rattler or like a Da'Lon Hurt out of UCLA, the number 425th ranked receiver, like they've done in the past with J.J. Arcega and
Jalen
Rager.
With his next pick number 20, I was really considering Linderbaum if he had fell because the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line is not good at all.
Nope.
It's really probably the worst part of, actually, never mind. Before I say that, the worst part of the team is the guy I'm replacing right now, and I'm taking Desmond Ridder. Pick number 20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they have to get a quarterback this offseason. Big Ben has made it pretty clear that he is not going to come back, or the Steelers don't want him back. Whatever one is true. Either way, he is not going to be a Steeler next year, in my opinion. And they're going to have to figure it out. Whether that is Aaron Rodgers, which I know some Steeler fans want Aaron Rodgers, and I don't blame them. I would take Aaron Rodgers also. Right now, they don't have him, though. So Desmond Ridder, I think, is the guy. He didn't do that good against Alabama, I know. But when you're playing with scrubs and you're playing against the best team in college football, you can kind of get a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't cost them the game. He didn't throw a bunch of picks or anything. He just didn't have a good game. Not many people do against Alabama. He is a pretty good quarterback, though, in Cincinnati this year. He's probably the reason that they were in the playoffs. He really is the whole entire reason that he was in the playoffs. 6'4", that is the prototypical height for a NFL quarterback. That's really all they draft now is guys that are above 6'3", unless you're Kyler Murray or Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
But yeah, Desmond Ridder, they need a quarterback, and he is the man. If Kenny Pickett was here, that would 100% be the smash pick, but unfortunately he goes earlier, and the Steelers need somebody, so here he is.
Yeah, the Steelers got to replace Big Ben. Patriots are up on the board. I'm going Sauce Gardner. He's The corners in this draft are like the receivers in last year's draft. I feel like there's CB 1A, 1B, 1C. You can put Sauce, Stingley, or Booth 1A, 1B, 1C. I feel like they're all, any other year, they're all cornerback 1. Then you got like Roger McCreary, CB2, Kyer Elam, who you could argue is CB2 as well. This is a pretty good cornerback class, top heavy. You got Darian Kendrick as well, who's been making a case all year, who could have gone in the draft last year. I like Sauce Gardner. He's arguably cornerback 1 in this class. I would say he's 1B behind Stingley, ahead of Booth. But I mean, when you can get the best corner in the draft, arguably at 21 for the Patriots as a position in need, that's big. I don't care how good J.C. Jackson or Jalen Mills have been all year. We need help at corner. Sauce Gardner comes in, he can play CB1. He's got swag, and I would love him in a Patriots jersey.
With his next pick, pick number 22, the Patriots' father, the Miami Dolphins are going to take Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State.
This pick, well, I want to hear your explanation, because when we were talking about it, you didn't really explain.
It's really simple as this. The Miami Dolphins, they have a solid defense, and that's not really what I'm worried about here. They just fired their head coach, Brian Flores, which is a decision that I did not agree with at all. I guess he didn't have good relations with other people in the staff, so they decided to let him go. But in my opinion, the Miami Dolphins, they probably need another receiver because Will Fuller didn't really work out for him this year. Preston Williams hasn't really worked out for him. Devontae Parker, he's been battling injuries for the past 5 or so years. Jalen Waddle has been a stud this year, and I give him all the props there. They need offensive line and they need receiver. In my opinion, there wasn't any offensive lineman that really stood out to me here. So I think Garrett Wilson, in my opinion, he was the best player on the board, and I think he was good. He was a tier above the rest of the wide receivers that were available. He's been a stud for Ohio State all year this year, and I think the Miami Dolphins and Tua could benefit greatly with having another weapon. That's really like what you need when you have a young quarterback. You need a bunch of weapons. Waddle is going to turn out, and he's going to be not a top receiver in football, but he's going to be a stud. He showed flashes of it this year. Mike Gesicki is a serviceable tight end. Now you need one more option. Garrett Wilson is the man, and he is going to turn his Miami Dolphins offense around, help him out a little bit, because the defense is fine. You just need offensive help.
Stetson Bennett's terrible. Have I said that today yet?
Yeah, what happened? Will Anderson just destroyed him?
No, he's just bad. He's terrible.
Apparently the team rallies around him.
He's so bad. You bring in JT Daniels and Stetson Bennett's a starter.
To be fair, nobody's open.
Yeah, whatever.
And Will Anderson got there in like 2 seconds.
The Raiders are on the clock here. This could be multiple positions. They made the playoffs, so I can't see them moving on from Derek Carr anytime soon. I mean, it just kind of depends on what their new head coach wants to do, whoever they bring in. This could be multiple different guys. You could argue receiver to replace Henry Ruggs, like a Jahan Dotson here, who I really thought about. You could go Trayvon Walker to beef up the edge, but it's been fairly good. Yannick Ngakoue has been a great compliment to Max Crosby, vice versa. So with that being said, I decided to go Roger McCreary here, corner out of Auburn. I love him as a corner. If Sauce Gardner wasn't there, I was taking him at the Patriots. He's versatile. He's a man guy. He can press you. He can play zone. He's played in the SEC. Like we said about Stingley, he's played against all the top dogs, and he's held his own. He did it this year against a healthy Bama team before John Mechie got hurt. He did his thing. They shut down the wide receivers of Alabama. That's why the score was so low. I like Roger McCreary a lot. I don't care who the Raiders have at corner. None of them are probably better than Roger McCreary. They lost Damon Arnett, who was their first-round pick, last year? That was the Joe Burrow year, so that was 2 years ago. So, I mean, getting Roger McCreary to come and be that stud cornerback 1, you're playing in a tough division where you need to have a good secondary, and to help beef up the Raiders' secondary is good. Like Ryan, I think that cornerback is a very, very high stepping stone of a franchise guy. You want a good quarterback, a good edge rusher, and a good corner. Goes a long way. So for the Raiders head coach stepping in, who are pretty well-rounded everywhere else, except maybe like a linebacker or interior defensive line, with a guy like Roger McCreary on the board, it's too good of a fit, and he steps in right away as the best corner on your team, so that's why I took him.
Pick number 20 for the Arizona Cardinals. I could have taken an offensive lineman here, and I think that would have been fine, but I took Devin Lloyd, fifth-year linebacker out of Utah. He was a huge part of why Utah was good this year. Probably one of the main parts of Utah was good this year. He can do multiple things on your defense. He can rush the passer. He can also stay out there as an outside linebacker and do pass coverage. And the Arizona Cardinals, they need help with that, in my opinion. Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, they are getting up there in age. They might be leaving. So they do need somebody to rush the passer. Devin Lloyd can do that. They also need an outside linebacker to cover and linebacker in general to cover. They just drafted Zava Collins last year. And Devin Lloyd will be another good pick at linebacker for him. Like I said, if you took an offensive lineman here, I wouldn't hate it at all. But Devin Lloyd, I think, was too good to pass up at pick number 24. Super athletic, super talented, so he is my pick here.
I like that pick a lot. I like Devin Lloyd a lot. I mean, he had a real good game against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, which I wasn't really a fan of him until that I saw him. He's good. I mean, I think you could also argue a corner here, maybe.
That's fair, but they kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
In theory.
It's true.
If Sauce Gardner was here, that would be 100% the pick. But
yeah, I don't know. It just depends. That's why we mock, The Bengals are on the clock. This has to be offensive lineman. Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow, Sleepy Joe Burrow's been crazy this year. Joe Mixon's been good. But Joe Burrow's still the most hit quarterback in the league. So I went ahead and took an offensive tackle out of Ohio State, Nicholas Petit-Frere. I know I botched his name. I know it's not Petit.
It's like
Petit-Frere. But the fact of the matter is, he's a versatile guy. He's played on both sides. He came in and he stepped in as left tackle and's been doing good. He has experience playing right tackle as well. God bless you. And that's what the Bengals look for. We talked about it all last year. You go back to our mock drafts. The Bengals love their versatile offensive linemen. And with Nicholas Petit-Frere, he's a guy who can play right or left tackle, however you depend to do. I'm pretty sure Jonah Williams has been healthy all this year. Maybe not, I don't know. But the Bengals' offensive line still is not very good, and you just need to beef it up. So getting another versatile guy like Zach Taylor and like the Bengals like to draft in the past, it's always a good fit. The team's pretty well-rounded on all other spots. So, I mean, when in doubt, you just draft an offensive lineman, especially when you're the Bengals.
Pick number 26 here, the Buffalo Bills are up, and they have a couple positions in need. But I'm going to attack corner here and take Khair Elam, cornerback out of Florida. Tre'Davious White's coming off an ACL injury. He will be fine. He will be their cornerback. Not doubting him in any aspect. The number 2 corner, I'm hoping he helps me out here with this one, but he is going to be a free agent this year. So this is a position that they may want to address based on how much money they have, how much money that they want to spend. Drafting a cornerback here in the first round, I think, is a pretty good pick for him. Elam out of Florida, he has gone up against every receiver that you could possibly imagine. He has gone up against the Georgia guys, the Alabama guys. He has gone up against all of them. He is
Teron Johnson. Excuse me.
He is a free agent this year. Whoever the number 2 corner is, he's a free agent this year. So Elam fills a position in need if that guy does happen to go. It really just depends on who Buffalo wants to bring back, and if they don't bring him back, Elam is the pick.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I mean, he's another guy who also doesn't get the ball thrown his way. He's a shutdown corner. He's played at Florida, gone up against the Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Tonys in practice. He's played in the SEC, so he's got the experience. Then we got Detroit back on the clock. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been everything I thought he'd be at Summit receiver, but other than that, they have no one. Pretty sure Khalif Raymond is a receiver too.
TJ Hawkins
is coming off a season-ending injury. I think they're going to stick with Jared Goff for a year. This could be a Sam Howell. I really thought about Sam Howell here. I really did. But I went ahead and I took Jahan Dotson. I think that him and Amon-Ra St. Brown could be lethal. They're both versatile guys that they're speedsters, they're good size, they're big physical playmakers. And if Dan Campbell takes control of the offense, they just fired their offensive coordinator. If Dan Campbell calls the plays, it'll work out. If I'm not wrong, once Dan Campbell started calling the plays, Detroit has been better. I mean, they won a few games when Dan Campbell started calling the plays. Yeah, they just beat Green Bay. If you can just give the ball to DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, let them do their thing to set up the big plays to Jahan Dotson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson.
Because their O-line's already solid.
That's all Jared Goff needs to do. Jared Goff did pretty much the same thing behind a worse offensive line with the Rams. He was throwing to Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. I mean, it wasn't Cooper Kupp from this year. It was a 1,000-yard receiver, Robert Woods, who was catching drags and slants from Jared Goff. So, I mean, put him in a similar situation to where he was in the Rams and just let him do his thing for a year and see what happens.
That's fair. Pick number 28, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going back-to-back Penn State, taking Jaquan Brisker here, safety out of Penn State. The Dallas Cowboys, their defense has played solid all year, but I think safety help would be pretty good for him. KZ is a free agent this year, so if they decide to let him walk. Curse has played solid this year. but I'm not sure he is the long-term option here at safety. Brisker is a guy who is a ball-hawking safety, covers the middle of the field, and comes up with interceptions. We already see the Dallas Cowboys prioritize that. They play a very aggressive defense in terms of get an interception or let up a big play, but go for the interception. Brisker is a guy who fits that mold. He fits that Dan Quinn defense. He is a guy that's going to lurk in the center, try to get interceptions. Safety or corner, I think, would be a decent pick here. Also, you can argue interior, even just offensive line in general, because the team is not looking great at the offensive line, but there wasn't any guys here that really stood out to me. So Brisker is my pick here at safety, and they'll probably look to address offensive line throughout the rest of the draft.
Yeah, now moving on to the Chiefs, this was a toss-up for me. I really, really like Dax Hill, but, Dax Hill, if you draft Dax Hill here, you pretty much have two honey badgers on the field. Dax Hill is pretty much Tyrann Mathieu. I really, really wanted to do it, but their defense is really bad. They have nobody rushing on the edge. They moved Chris Jones from edge out to edge rusher. Didn't pan out, so they moved him back into interior and he's doing his thing. So I went ahead and I'm drafting Trayvon Walker here, edge rusher for Georgia. He's played on the Georgia defense, who's arguably been one of the best defenses in college football history. He's done his thing. He's got good size. He can rush off the edge. He can rush inside He's pretty much Chris Jones, but he can rush on the edge a lot better. He can also do an inside stunt, beat a guard. He's big. He's 6'5", 275, and he can rush off the edge as good as a lot of these other pass rushers we've seen. He's quick with his hands. He's athletic. He's quick on his feet. So that's why I took him here, like we've been saying the whole draft and emphasizing. Edge is a cornerstone to a team that needs a good defense. It's arguably the most important position on the defense. So getting a guy like Trayvon Walker would be big for the Chiefs defense that has not been good all year. Stetson Bennett has a hose. George Pickens. Is that Pickens? George Pickens, baby. First round pick.
Not in our draft, though.
Maybe the next one after that catch.
It was a trick play. Anyways, this next pick number 30, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am taking Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington. They do love their Washington players, and this does fill a position of need for them. All year they've been battling injuries in the secondary. Carlton Davis is set to be a free agent, and I think they probably let him walk, so cornerback is a position of need. I think they take him out of Washington. Washington is a pretty good school in terms of producing defensive players. Washington is a good school in producing defensive backs. So I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers does fill position of need for him. It's not really – Tampa Bay is not in an easy spot to, draft, I would say, because, Tom Brady could be leaving. We don't really know the future of this team, but assuming Tom Brady's back another year, giving him a corner – would help.
Yeah, with the 31st pick, I didn't think much about this. Nakobe Dean, probably, if not the favorite, one of my top 3 to 5 favorite prospects in this draft. He makes plays sideline to sideline. He's so good. The Titans, they got Harold Andrews, a free agent. Jayon Brown's a free agent, and Rashaan Evans is also a free agent this year. They probably won't bring all 3 back if they lose one of their stud linebackers. Bringing in Nakobe Dean, young rookie, would be great for them. He's a guy who would love Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel would love him. He would fit in the defense perfect. He's a versatile guy. He's pretty much JOK. Isaiah Simmons just doesn't have as good of cover abilities, but he's got great abilities other than that. So I like Nakobe Dean here.
Pick number 32, the Green Bay Packers. I was thinking about a receiver here, but I'm taking Trevor Penning, offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa. He's 6'7", 320. He doesn't go up against the greatest schools, but he is a freak of an athlete, super physical, and I think that is the right pick here for the future. I would say offensive tackle is a cornerstone on the other side of Bulaga. This team, they could lose Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams this year. So I think the safe pick is taking an offensive tackle here. And if they happen to lose Aaron Rodgers, they are going to turn into a running football team. They are going to pound the ball with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Taking an offensive lineman here will help out. In the future of that, you can never go wrong taking an offensive lineman. It can't be a waste of a pick because it helps out basically everything. So taking Trevor Penning here, a big 6'7" guy out of Northern Iowa, I think is the right pick here.
Yeah, and that's going to conclude our mock draft, bi-weekly, weekly, whatever we decide, and the longest video in the history of the greatest podcast on turf. thank you guys for watching. You guys love the mock drafts, so we're going to keep them up. One of my favorite videos that we do. I love doing mock drafts. I love scouting. I love watching college. I love watching film. That's what we like to do. Like, subscribe, check out the podcast. We'll see you guys Thursday with, we don't know yet, but we'll see you guys at the end of the week with 3 more uploads.
See ya.
See ya.